Hey guys, this is part two of my MCU series of making my own Marvel Cinematic Universe, which yeah, part one was about phase one, and this part two, it's about phase two. It's been a long time since part one. None of you give a shit. No one gives a shit anyways. But yeah, I'm back and yeah. So let's get right into this, I guess. The first movie of phase two will be a sequel to Fantastic Four, which will be called Fantastic Four: The Tide of Atlantis. And in this movie, the Fantastic Four will discover Atlantis, and they'll also discover like the King of Atlantis, Namor, who will be the main villain of the movie. And he wants to go to war against the Fantastic Four, and he kidnaps Sue Storm. The only way he will make peace with the Fantastic Four is if they let him marry Sue Storm, which obviously they're not going to allow since that's Reed Richards' wife. And Herbie is introduced as Reed's robot lab assistant. Atuma and Namora will be secondary villains. They'll be like Namor's right hand, like in command, kind of like how they were in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And the movie will end with Namor agreeing to not attack the Fantastic Four if like the U.S. government leaves Atlantis alone. So at the end, they have kind of a peace treaty. So yeah, we'll do a reference to Wakanda, and that will set up a Black Panther movie coming phase three. Ooh. And we'll have a post-credit scene where Namor talks to Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom kind of wants, to team up with Namor to fight the Fantastic Four, and Namor's he is now like neutral with the Fantastic, so he doesn't really want to like disturb the peace. So okay, next movie is Iron Man. It'll go a lot like the actual Iron Man movie, but there's some changes. So like when Tony Stark is kidnapped by the Ten Rings, this Ten Rings is led by the Mandarin, who is the main villain of the movie, and AIM is going to be introduced also, and it's working with Stark Industries on a project called MODOK. But Tony Stark calls it off like once he like sees like he doesn't want to make weapons anymore, and so the owner of AIM, George Tarleton, he's pissed since like this could have been a big deal. So then he finds out about the Mandarin, the guy who kidnapped Tony Stark, and then he tells the Mandarin of the location of where Tony Stark is. So then like Tony Stark has to fight the Mandarin. But then like he beats the Mandarin, and then the Mandarin is arrested by Shield, and Nick Fury, he has a talk to Iron Man just like in the actual movie. Okay, next movie is a sequel to X-Men called X-Men Mutant Genocide. So the team, it consists of like the same members from like the first movie, if you remember, but added like Rogue, who became a member of the team in the first movie, Gambit, and Nightcrawler. Magneto, he teams up with the X-Men for like against like the bigger threat, which is Stryker. He wants to like kill all the mutants, and he's using the Sentinels to hunt down mutants all over the world. Nightcrawler is hiding from the Sentinels, like who are like hunting him down. But like Nightcrawler, he's like teleporting away. But like the X-Men find him, and then like they help him out. So working with Stryker will be Trask, who is like building Sentinels. Master Mold, who's gonna be a secondary villain, he's gonna be like the head of the Sentinels. Okay, next movie is Thor, and in this movie, after finding out that Loki is adopted, he goes to Jotunheim to meet like the frost giants, and then Thor, he like tries to go to Jotunheim, but he goes to Earth instead, and then he meets Jane Foster, and he like falls in love with her while he's on Earth, Loki and the frost giants attack Asgard. And then at the end of the movie, Thor kind of loses his trust in his father. His father like lied to Loki and like lied to Thor also. Next movie is Hulk 2. The main villain will be the leader, Samuel Stearns, who is working for AIM. George Tarleton, who, remember from Iron Man. He supplies him with gamma radiation. Samuel Stearns, he uses the gamma radiation to turn himself into the leader. And, like, his head gets bigger, and General Rossi's still, like, against the Hulk. And then Bruce Banner is like using like coping strategies to like not Hulk out. Betty Ross finds out that Bruce Banner is Hulk, and then she tries to help him. The leader, he mind controls Rick Jones and uses him like against the Hulk. At the end of the movie, the Hulk will be seen by the public as a hero and not a monster. Okay, so the next movie is Spider-Man 3. So in this movie, Norman Osborn has finally injected himself with the Goblin formula, and he becomes the Green Goblin, and he goes like crazy. Like he kills Gwen Stacy, and like he finds out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he attacks Aunt May, and he's also wants to get revenge on the people who screwed over like Norman Osborn and who are Spencer Smythe and Silvermane. We'll also introduce Connors as a scientist at Oscorp. Rhino and Sandman will like return to like fight Spider-Man again, and then Hammerhead and Boomerang will also be like secondary villains. At the end, like Spider-Man like fights the Green Goblin, but Green Goblin he overdoses himself in Goblin formula, and then like that that kills him. And at the end, Harry Osborn swears revenge against Spider-Man because he blames him for his father's death. We'll have a post-credit scene of Peter Parker getting the symbiote suit. So the next movie is Captain America New World. So after 70 years in ice, Captain America has been unfrozen by S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury explains to Steve Rogers what has happened to him. Captain America is now a soldier for S.H.I.E.L.D. He has to adjust to like this modern era. So George Tarleton, remember from Iron Man and Hulk 2, he finds the robot body that contains like the conscious of former Hydra scientist Arnim Zola, and so AIM helps Arnim Zola with like experiments, and like he helps Arnim Zola, who like has a plan to get revenge on Captain America. Captain America will meet Sharon Carter, and we'll also have mentions to Iron Man and Hulk. We'll see that S.H.I.E.L.D. is actually it's starting like the Avengers initiative, and AIM's reputation goes down the drain after people find out that they were helping out a Nazi. So the next movie is Ant-Man, and in this movie, instead of like, how in the actual Ant-Man movies they use Scott Lang, we're gonna use Hank Pym as Ant-Man, and Janet Van Dyne will be the Wasp. So Hank and Janet are married in this movie, and Hank is a scientist who is working on a discovery called Pym particles that allows someone to be able to decrease the size of organisms. And Hank also finds a way to communicate with ants. But there is a former colleague of Hank Pym, Elisa Starr, aka Egghead, who is like jealous of Hank Pym, and he wants to manipulate Hank's army of ants. Egghead is also working for AIM, and we'll also meet like Bill Foster, who's like a colleague working for Hank and Janet. And the final battle has Ant-Man and the Wasp battle like the Scarlet Beetle, who Egghead like has created. We'll have a post-credit scene where George Tarleton becomes MODOK. So the next movie is Daredevil Part II. So the main villain of this movie is Bullseye, and in this movie, Matt's former lover Elektra comes to Hell's Kitchen. In this movie, Kingpin is now in prison. Punisher will also be introduced in this movie, and he's out on the streets killing criminals. Nelson and Murdoch have to like defend the Punisher, but we'll also see like a fight between Daredevil and Punisher because like they have conflicting ideas. And Matt also finds out that Elektra was trained by Stick the entire time, and he confronts Stick about it. Even though Wilson Fisk is in jail, he sends Bullseye to try to kill Daredevil. Bullseye, he's like insane. Like he kills both Ben Urich and Elektra, and then this pisses off Daredevil, and Daredevil gets so mad that he almost beats Bullseye to death. So the final movie and what like this phase has led up to is the Avengers. The team will consist of Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Nick Fury, he's the one who brings the Avengers together. The main villain will be MODOK. Yeah, MODOK wants revenge on like all of the Avengers because like each of them except for Thor kind of they've like ruined his plans, and then like MODOK wants AIM to become the biggest science corporation in the world, and MODOK he attacks Shield and steals the cosmic cube from them and uses it like for AIM. The Avengers will come together to defeat MODOK. The final battle will have like the Avengers fighting like an army of weaponized AIM soldiers who have like stolen Stark tech. And then the post-credit scene will tease Thanos. This phase will also have some TV shows. TV shows we'll have is Luke Cage, Agents of Shield, Iron Fist. Also have a Nova show. Okay, so yeah, that was about it. Tune in next time for Phase 3.